The topic is toolkit. And you know, when you talk about a toolkit, immediately, for me anyway, I have the contrast between happiness on the one hand, unhappiness on the other. Why? Because whenever I get out a toolkit, I want to make some change in my environment. You know, I need a wrench, a hammer, screwdriver, some little picture hangers. I'm either adding something to my environment, altering something in my environment, or in the, you know, sort of the least desirable situation, I want to fix something. But actually, that's probably what happens most of the time. I want to fix something. And so I get out a wrench. And a wrench, what is it? It grabs a hold of some sort of a nut or something. It twists or holds, or it undoes a pipe, or whatever it does. But it grasps. A screwdriver twists. There's this, you know, turning, screwing, fastening aspect. I want to fasten down. A hammer hammers things into place. Usually a hammer is hammers with nails, you know, when it has to do with fastening. So all tools are actually extensions of the mind.
Hey everyone. Now I've been building things since I was a teenager, but my tools have always been a hodgepodge of random stuff I found along the way or picked up on the cheap. Yeah, it's not pretty. Eventually, I began to appreciate having a smaller set of quality tools that were well built and packed in a lot of functionality.
Okay, if we back off of that a little bit, tools are extensions of the human body. Okay, they extend what I'm able to do. I don't have a strong metal object on the end of my hand like Edward Scissorhands, you know, with his scissors, you know, with his fingers. You know, I don't have a tool built into my body, but, you know, as soon as I say that, you got to stop yourself and say, yes, absolutely. The body is nothing but a bunch of tools. It's a way of interacting with an environment. The whole body evolved to interact with an environment. So I am a toolkit. Now, so when I say I want a toolkit, in the case of fixing a sink, the bathroom sink is clogged or whatever, I'm going to need something to get at it. I can't just use my hands. Flesh is too soft, the arm is too weak, whatever it is, hard to get to. There's various reasons why you want these extensions of the body to deal with the environment around. And so in this situation, when we're in the 7 steps to happiness, and toolkit is one, I'm calling it the last. And I said, if you have a mind and if you have fingers, then you're well on your way to having sufficient tools to deal with X, Y, Z. You know, but when you get into the point, you know, because then you look in the toolkit, I'm trying to fix the kitchen sink or whatever it is, and I don't have the right wrench, I don't have the right screwdriver, so that as an extension of the body, there's also a sense of like what's really in there or what's not really in there. Well, I want to make an argument, might be a false argument, but I want to say that we are not given a problem. Given, meaning the projected world out there doesn't come back at me with a problem that I am not sufficient to address through some means. And it has to be a means that are sort of readily available to me. I can't say, yes, if I could read minds, and now I have to go to my Esalen workshop to figure out how to read minds, do, you know, what do they call it, remote viewing or something like that. You know, I want it now. What's available now in this toolkit? So if I was forced in a word to describe what's in the actual toolkit, I open the toolkit, the first thing I find there is memory. It's my ability to use a sort of a time traveling capacity that I have to put myself in whether they're past states or things that I remember that I can use in the present, but I can time travel to find places where the state there was more conducive to happiness, even if it's a fantasy of good times, you know, as in a photo album or something. So memory is the first. The next is discriminative thought, to say that I have the capacity to sort out the good things from the bad things. There's actually a moment where eating the ice cream does make me happier, But then there's also a moment where eating ice cream is a dreadful reminder of how miserable I really am. Discriminative thought gives you the difference between those two moments. And then being honest with yourself, as I discussed in the other patterns, is the only thing that's going to help you say, let's be honest here. And then to do what it says. The discriminative thought has set the parameters or the guidelines before you. Now do you listen? Do you listen? Or do you just, or is one of your models, I'm just not disciplined, or I'm not that way, or I can't believe it's going to help right now. So that's a rationalizing mind. And so to know the difference between the rationalizing mind and the discriminative thought that truly knows the difference between one and the other. So you've got those right off the bat. Now you've got this thing called feeling tone, and that you can choose feeling tones. Everything that comes into us has what is called in other places a feeling tone, so that it's a different thing. Like if me and someone else are both looking at a fall day with golden leaves in piles, we're having two different experiences. The feeling tone of one, for various reasons, could be, oh my God, I'm glad I don't have to rake all those leaves. The feeling tone of the other could be childhood and racing back and saying, look at how I could, it's Joni Mitchell's song, I look at clouds from both sides now. So we can put ourselves in those feeling tones and surf those feeling tones to take us to places that are more positive. And the senses enable that, and the mind enables that. And then the other thing we have is insight. There is the possibility of insight. Insight means we inform ourselves in the best ways possible. We make the decisions we can, and then you wait for like the insight train to arrive. It's like, and just as a real and physical tool, I'll tell you, this is an important one. If you review and review and review and puzzle and puzzle and puzzle over your problem, your issue, whatever it is, it can be a technical problem, it can be an emotional problem, it can be a relationship problem. Puzzle it, puzzle it, puzzle it without a sense of judging, but you just really comb it through, and then literally sleep on it. When you wake up, this has been actually clinically proven. A lot of the time, the clutter of the day before has gotten a chance to recede, and the insight has gotten a chance to rise to the surface. And you can come up with solutions to your issue in that way. So those are the physical tools that I would say. You say, well, why did the body give me a cold, or why did it give me the flu, or why did it give me the measles, or whatever it gave me that seems like a sickness? Sicknesses in this model, they must be interpreted not as afflictions brought on us, but an opportunity for the body to balance itself. Now, unfortunately, sometimes those balances can lead to cancer or death or something like that. Gets into a whole other realm. I'm going to say that we have to accept that there is a wisdom in the body. It's a nonverbal wisdom, and it seeks balance, it seeks wholeness, it basically seeks happiness through some means. The body seeks happiness through some means, whether it's a headache, an illness, or a feeling of elation. It wants that. Now the mind, on the other hand, okay, and we're talking the body-mind duality. The mind, on the other hand, is quite judgmental. I mean, that's what the mind does. It sorts, it's cutting and sorting, whereas the body is more of a holistic thing. The mind is more of a discriminating function. It chops things up. What's me? What's not me? What do I like? What do I don't like? What's tolerable? What's not tolerable? It's constantly setting up judgments. So that's where the mind is. And this is also a place where they complement one another and also conflict with each other, the mind and the body. So you got the body and the mind, and what I'm saying is that they are what they are. Okay, the body and the mind are what they are. Settle in with that for a second. And that the body is where it is in terms of health and fitness and all that. It can adapt to a certain degree by heroic influxes of various hormones and what to make you much stronger than you were, or make you faster than you should be, or give you endurance that you wouldn't have had otherwise. There are different ways that the body is a tool to help me in my environment, or helps us in our environments. Whereas the mind also, very synthetic, very clever, the MacGyver issue of creating tools out of nothing. The mind can create tools out where it saw no tools. You know, it's the proverbial, what can you do with needle nose pliers and a roll of duct tape? You know, anything. I can do anything with needle nose pliers or whatever and a roll of duct tape. So those are tools, and it's ways that the mind is able to synthesize uses. However, I'm going to say that there's a ceiling to that only goes so far, and that's why I want to bring in the realm of the spirit. It's the most difficult to really talk about. So for my purposes, or for our purposes here, I'm going to say that neither the body nor the mind have an implicit or an overt purpose. And I'm going to say that spirit is the aspect of purpose or purposefulness. And that can be a strong motivating factor, the idea of purpose. So the spirit comes in with purpose, and that intersects the body-mind, which sometimes the body and the mind together, given that we have limited ideas, it could be the dog chasing its tail. And that there's not new information coming in. New information, new situations come in to inform the body-mind in a certain way. Spirit is a sense of that new information coming in that can change things. I'll give you an example real quick. Let's say you're living an out of control, out of balance life in a certain way, and you develop chronic, I'm just saying, I don't know if any of this is true, chronic fatigue syndrome. So the body is taking on where it just doesn't even want to get out of bed, it's completely listless. And so you're crashing into a sense of, I can't do anything, I can't do anything, I can't do anything. The mind is constantly devising ways to get out of that situation. Well, there's a chance that you're in a loop of belief about yourself, that you need to do all these things in a certain way and you have to deliver them in a certain way, and that the body is trying to say, we can't stand up to this, we're not up to this, and so it just goes kaput. You know, the body just backs out and says, I can no longer deliver for you. In other words, as a servant, in the interest of the body-mind, I'm taking you out. You can't do the type A thing that you want to do anymore. You've got to back off. That's a way that the body looks like it's attacking us in a way, but it's trying to preserve the whole system, because the body is saying, mind, you've got ideas in there that do not serve this. So in this way, you can have a dog chasing its tail, because without new information, the mind can continue trying to overcome the body's message of, we need to stop this thing. And if there's not new ideas coming in, if the mind isn't able to look at the body and feel a little compassion and say, all right, I see where you're coming from. Sore knee, or chronic fatigue, or certain sort of unexpected illness, or lethargy, or whatever it is. I'm going to come in and we're going to redo something. We're going to do some research. We're going to contact other people. We're going to get new information. Without meaning and purpose, life is somewhat arbitrary. And I'm going to say that whatever model you believe in terms of evolution or where the world came from, there's a general belief that life winds down, that all systems tend toward, I think they call it entropy, where there's no systems fall apart over time without maintenance. Well, I'm going to say there's proof actually to the contrary. that actually systems want to organize themselves. And that's true of nature itself. It has organized itself into, let's say, epic forests and these other kind of forest rims or plantings around the ridge of meadows, and what the soil components are of all those. The thing is, it's so elegant and so well designed, this system of nature, and that includes our own sickness or our own health or our own happiness or our own unhappiness. These are aspects of nature as though they are weather systems. They are so profound when we're not messing with them. That's important. They can't do their thing if we're messing with them. And so they exhibit an order that is beyond what we can really understand. And so the Western European mind says it's chaos. And so it imposes itself. It imposes a campo, like a grid streets. And we do that in our lives. We see the natural human condition, and then we start imposing the grid on it so that we can understand it. But it doesn't take long to understand that playing tic-tac-toe on top of something that's as obviously organic and wonderful as the 5D multi-layered system of nature is going to be troublesome. It's the dummy in the room dictating what everybody should do. In other words, my logical, reasonable, limited way of working with things is going to create trouble in my life. And this is where spirit comes in, because spirit, number one, wants that freedom. And so freedom is part of it. That's why these things happen. Spirit doesn't jump in there and go, hey, we got to get you that $1 million this year. Or Spirit doesn't jump in there and say, hey, we need you 100% healthy. Spirit is going for a transcendent sense of meaning and purpose. What's this all about? What's it all about? So that's a deepening. So in the sense of this, when there's unhappiness, it's a call for deepening, to go deeper. When there's sickness, it's really in a lot of ways a call to go deeper. Now we can deal with it horizontally, where you say, okay, well, what medicine, what doctor, what system is going to cure me? But I'm going to say, first off, the idea of going deeper into myself and examining what might have gotten me there. Where did I get there? So this enters into the first step of, I'm going to say, a tool of spirit, as well as the first overt tool that we use, that we always use. We always have this tool lying there, but it's the first one that comes to my mind is memory.
Today I'm going to take you to my childhood home, and I'm going to share a couple of stories that happened to me when I was a kid. That's me. Just a kid.
Memory. Because what happens is we've experienced many things, and that we don't really remember what got us to where we are, but that's in there. The memory is in there, that what got us to where we are, and also memory in terms of when it was different than this, when I felt happy. Remember, when did you feel happy? Remember what steps led you to this place. It can be an exercise also in another aspect of the mind. We've got memory. These are things that are always there and we always use. The argument here is that we have to reclaim them, recognize they are in the toolkit. Memory, fantasy. However, quickly, especially as the mind and body become more accomplished, and it's less of the beginner mind thing. It's more like been here, done that. Well, now they just amp it up and they want to cover territory, or they want to see different things, and it becomes an accumulation. Like there are people in Colorado Rockies that they do 14ers. I'm going to climb as many 14,000 foot peaks as possible. So you just start collecting the 14,000 foot peaks, and when you talk to them, it's like, oh yes, it's so wonderful to be up there, and all that's true. But the goal of achieving 14ers, or of achieving times, or achieving vistas, the goal-oriented mind can ruin those activities as opening the door on spirit and allowing it in. So we've got to be careful of becoming mentally oriented on these different things of where I'm trying to touch spirit, because that's a method of sabotage, really. Why? Sabotage. Why would somebody sabotage happiness? Because going deeper means that you're going to change. You're going to find out something about yourself that you didn't necessarily want to find out. It doesn't fit in your worldview. Wow, I'm a heck of a lot lazier than I thought I was. Or worse yet, I'm going to die. I thought I was going to live forever. Whatever the thing is that you learn about yourself, we really want to protect ourselves from that, because there's a holistic, steady state, homeostasis, good thing about who and what we are, where we want to keep it that way. No matter what, we want to keep it that way. And that's good. It's stabilizing, and it's not to be resisted. A lot of times we say, change is always good. No, change is not always good. Sometimes change is bad. Now you got to deal with it. That's true. But and that dealing with it animates certain of these tools that we have implicit in us. Whether it's a car wreck, that changes things, and you got to deal with it. Or you find out that the economy collapsed and all of your money's gone. Well, that changes things, and that's going to bring. But they're not good by themselves. They can function in a good way because of our creative abilities, and this brings into spirit. So any of those unhappinesses, those imbalances, you look at them as an opportunity to not rebalance as the dog chasing its tail, but an opportunity to rebalance in a spiritual sense, of meaning and purpose.
Please! I want to live again! I want to live again! I want to live again. Please, God, let me live again.
So, where are we at? We have a toolkit. In the toolkit, we have mental tools of discriminative thought and synthetic thought, meaning we can make things. It's not particularly creative because we can only sort of use what we've got. And in a clever way, maybe, but not particularly creative. And then we have the body, which has its senses that anchor us into the world, and also it's an adaptive system, the body. So those two tools. Now, to unlock those tools, we want to tap meaning and purpose, to tap the beauty of the mind and the beauty of the body, which are functioning all the time with all their tools. We want to be in the meaning and purpose of things, and however you get to meaning and purpose. It's possible to live in social systems, environments, family systems where meaning and purpose just don't enter. It's not meaningful to make your bed. It can't be a purpose to keep a neat house. They can help a sense of personal orderliness that allow meaning and purpose to emerge. But if they become ends in themselves, like collecting 14,000-foot peaks, it ends up just being another burden of you being caught in your loop. So most of the things that a person can do, the doing of a person, anything you say, I'm going to do this to be happy, or I'm going to do that to overcome my sadness, or I'm going to do this to understand. Most of those will not lead to meaning and purpose because they are doing oriented, and that's easily, maybe even by definition, derailed into just becoming more of what you already are, which was unhappy. So it can maybe lead to a temporary boost if you've got that in your palette of possibilities, that you can get a temporary boost and lead to temporary happiness. What I'm saying is that unhappiness itself as an invitation to going deeper, mastering a skill, engaging the broader world within a skill set of some kind, can be meaningful. If I understood being a pro basketball player as being really my limited, not bad, but limited way of grasping at engaging a skill set, broadening my world in the physical realm. If I had understood it in more generic terms, I might have seen there more possibilities and not just plunged my nose directly into you're trying to accomplish things in terms of basketball. I might have chosen other things, a musical instrument or some relationship with the outdoors, or even opening myself up to other people or intellectual avenues. I might have done other things. The point is to realize there are doing all over the place. All those things I mentioned are a doing. But the issue is a sense of being, meaning and purpose. That's a beingness, my being. So that's all I have to say. I know I've gotten redundant. I hope that this is useful. And I really appreciate your watching. Thank you very much. It's a great privilege for me to even do this. Thanks. Bye.